Welcome, motorized bike enthusiasts and Woodlum Hoodlum TV fans. We're back. This is just going to be like a filler video, last ride footage of the year, and kind of an update video. So, thoughts on the zdx65 pipe. I absolutely recommend it. It's that or MZ65. Those two pipes are honestly, you can't go wrong with either one. I think the ZDX is just a tad cheaper if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I like the ZDX65. I've tried it. It's amazing. For the price, and the performance that it gives, it's a huge improvement. And I wouldn't even bother with the MZ65 clones off Amazon anymore, honestly. Like those help, but eh, they're not the best. ZDX65 to MZ65 all the way. Um, and the speed bike, the motor on the speed bike ended up having a catastrophic failure. The crank bearings decided to just go out, and I don't really want to mess with rebuilding a whole bottom end and a crank in that yet. So I just ordered a new motor, and I attempted to get a new bottom end for the LD100, but they sent me a normal size bottom end. So now I've changed my mind on that and put those parts on the back burner for a little while. And I'm just gonna pretty much remake the LD90 that I have on the Shadow bike, but with a few differences, and I'm gonna keep most of them a secret. But I will spoil one of the three surprises that I have just for a little bit of something to look forward to. We're gonna put a Nibby PE 19 millimeter carburetor on the speed bike. The speed bike is a 29er with 36 tooth sprocket and a 10 tooth on the engine. Now, with a stock China doll, well, not really stock, it had an MZ65 clone, but other than that, it was absolutely stock. That alone got me up to about 43 to 45 miles per hour. And yeah, it took forever to get there and the power sucked, but still it went that fast. So with all these modifications, a bigger carb, better exhaust, and a couple other things I have up my sleeve, I'm sure it will bust 50, just because there was still RPM range to go. It wasn't revving out all the way with the stock China doll. So that is what has been going on with the speed bike, and we've just been filming on the Shadow bike for a while, and it's hard to come out with videos because life's getting busy, but we still will make some motorized bike videos here and there. And I'm really looking forward to for you guys to see what I have in mind for the speed bike. It's definitely going to be unique. It's going to be a bit different from other people's builds. And it should haul ass. It probably gets up there in speed pretty good too with the bigger carb and the better exhaust. But that's all I'm going to say for now about the speed bike. Hope you all have a wonderful day and enjoy the video. Fucking smoked him. Yeah, I just wanted to add this little section into this video because the rest of it felt pretty empty. It's kind of going to be an update video anyways. So right now I'm looking at the Shadow bike, and I brought it inside because it's cold and very wet where I live around here. And last time I left it out, things started getting real gross and like kind of moldy. So if you're cold, they're cold. Bring them inside. But I wanted to get this this intake setup on here. This is something that I recommend to beginner builders for a better intake flow setup. So what I have going on here is a shorty intake, NT speed carb, a radiator hosing that's hose clamped to the edge of the NT speed carb. There's nothing else right here. There's no velocity stack, but I'm planning on putting one there. But then it goes to a metal pipe that's pretty thin, but covers the whole circumference of this. There's a metal pipe that starts like right here and goes up to about here. And that's how this K&N air filter is hooked on to this hosing, because you can tell they're like right around the same size. This doesn't fit over that, so we had to make a little bit of an adapter. So this air filter runs you about $40, 45 bucks, and then this cost me $20. So it's not exactly a cheap solution to make your carburetor flow better, but it is a good solution to make your carburetor flow better, because a lot of people will like run an open carburetor, no air filter at all, to increase performance. Now there's people that think, whatever, it's just a cheap engine, run it open, it doesn't matter if grit and stuff gets in there, or they just think that it won't get in there in general. Well, that may be true if you're riding on really clean roads all the time, but as you can tell, there's a lot of dirt and grime and debris and stuff that gets flung all over the engine, and that's because I ride in the woods. And it's also very wet and like gross and dirty out there. You can't be running an open carburetor with all that stuff flying around on your bike, okay? Because you're going to be sucking in gunk and mud and debris into your fuel apparatus, your carb. You're going to need to keep this clean. Otherwise it can clog up, throw off your tune, and then it can end up ruining your cylinder. No, that's no fun. Nobody wants that. So if you ride in places that are dirty, I recommend this setup right here. This helps flow a lot better than a stock air filter will, or maybe any other air filter situation that I have done that is like homemade. This works really good. It allows for good flow and performance, and also I have a theory here. Some people may be able to prove this. This is just my thinking. But with a piston port setup, some of the charge from the carb ends up flying back out because there's no reed valve or a valve of any sort to stop it from doing so. So what I think happens, particularly at like a higher RPM, is some of the charge that gets flung out ends up getting sucked back in through the carb when the piston opens up again, making you run a little bit richer. But you do increase a lot of airflow with this setup, so it kind of goes hand in hand, helping you. This is just my theory, but this works really well in my experience for an easy add-on high flow filter. You will keep everything out of your carburetor. It will filter everything. You'll be good, and you'll still have lots of airflow. Highly recommend doing this. Now, for the speed bike, ignore my airsoft guns over here, that you can see we shortened down the header of the zdx65 pipe. I recommend this pipe. It's cheap, it performs really well. Or MZ65 if you want to go that way, a real MZ65, not the clones. This is technically a clone of the MZ65 in a way. It's labeled as a replica. But this is the only clone of that exhaust that I would actually ever recommend because it's built pretty well. It has nice thin stainless steel metal. Helps with the reverberations of an expansion chamber. Anyways, this had an interesting effect. Power band didn't kick in on the speed bike until right around 25 to 30 miles per hour, and it still hit really hard. I mean, relatively speaking, for the gear ratio. We had an LD100, a high compression head, this exhaust, and a NT carb shorty intake with a velocity stack powering it, and it worked really well. But that engine has always been troubled, and I never really got it to run good. Here it is sitting right here, actually. My crank bearings decided to chew themselves to pieces on it, so it's whatever. And I don't think it was because of the skirted piston. I think it was because tuning with this was just horrible. I couldn't figure it out for the longest time, and then eventually I got it to work good. When I did get it to work good, that was when I had this exhaust and everything onto the speed bike, and I thought I was finally in the clear. But my crank bearings decided to go, and turns out that was probably the issue to the begin with. I think they just weren't set up right from the factory or something, but it's just always been bad. Nothing but problems with that engine. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to get this intake set up here on camera and let the newer people know, hey, if you don't want to set up like a real carburetor, so to speak, and this is what you got and you want to make it work better, I recommend doing this. Just this hose here and this air filter setup or something similar. That alone will help really well. I am going to put a velocity stack in there too, and I've had it in there before and it seemed to work pretty good, but you have to seal the gap between the carb and the stack good with some like fuel hosing, and it has to match pretty well. Has to have a smooth transition. Once you do that, it will work. There's people that have struggles with the velocity stack, and I totally understand why, because I had those problems too for a little while. It just really takes some fiddling with getting it to work well, and I think adding something like this to the velocity stack helps a lot too, because while you're moving forward on your bike, if you have an open velocity stack like I did, for example, that did help a lot in performance and made it run really good. But the air is kind of moving against your bike this way, and then it's kind of moving around and being sucked into the velocity stack, down into the carb and through. So to stop turbulence from that, adding something like this to seal from any other airflow coming by, in theory, in my theory, I think that helps a lot too. And like I said earlier, you'll run a little richer because of the charge going back and forth and things like that. So I think it'll help your tune a lot if you have something like this with a velocity stack and you seal the gap between there. That's just my opinion. If you still have problems with getting the stack to work, it could possibly be your squish gap, and also if you have piston clearance in your intake. If your intake doesn't open all the way, and there's like a big portion of the piston coming through, that may be what's messing with you, because the stack didn't work very well on the LD100 until I skirted the piston and let it open up all the way while using it. So that may be something throwing you off. Now, if it's something just like a little sliver of the piston at top dead center, you'll probably be fine. But if it's excessive, like with the LD100, for example, yeah, you may have to skirt your piston to get the velocity stack to work. That's just my experience. I could be wrong, but that's what helped me ultimately get it to work. So, yeah, no piston clearance issues. Straight intake or something that flows really well and doesn't have any sharp curves in it. That will help. Sealing the gap between the carb and the stack will help. And then having a good air filter solution, something like this, should help you on your journey if that's going to be your way. You can use this without the stack too, like I am currently, but I'm going to throw a stack on there because I plan on throwing a 40 tooth on in the back. As right now we got a 44 and a 10 on the engine and 26 wheels, and with how much power I'm making with this setup, it's not that I don't enjoy the power, I love it, but there's not enough travel to the gearing. So I'll start hitting the gas and I instantly have to slow down after just a couple seconds, because I go from about 5 to 10 miles per hour. That's when I let out the clutch and start using the motor. From that speed to about 30, 35-ish is only a couple seconds. It's fast, it's powerful, it's nice for climbing hills, which is what this bike is for. But when you're trying to get to those hills, traveling, you know, long distances, it can become very annoying, because you just have to go on the throttle, off the throttle, on the throttle, off the throttle. Yeah, you can hold it somewhere in between, but your overall cruising speed isn't very fast, like 20, 25 miles per hour. So getting to those places can be kind of annoying. So I'm going to go a little smaller on the tail with a 40 tooth, and then add a velocity stack in here with how I explained, and give it a tune and see how it goes. Now, if for whatever reason the stack gives me too much guff, I'll just go back to this. I'm convinced it has enough power as is to just gear down to the begin with. The velocity stack is kind of just like my mental insurance that, yeah, I'll still have enough power to climb hills effectively and easily without straining the motor, bogging it down too much. Anyways, that's just what I wanted to add it in here real quick. I hope you guys got some useful information out of this. Air intake setup right here, and my overall thoughts of the zdx65. I like this pipe personally. It works really good. It adds quite a bit of power and performance to your setup, and honestly, I wasn't disappointed with spending the money to get this pipe. I recommended MZ65 too. I haven't tried an actual MZ65, but I've heard that it is relatively close to how this performs. They go pretty hand in hand. This one may perform just the littlest bit less, because the MZ65, it's been around for a while. It's had its designs done, but this is meant to like replicate it, and it does a pretty good job at that. Honestly, there's only a few little key differences between the two, but this works well. I like this exhaust personally. I think it's a good idea to get yourself one of these. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Have a very good day. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and leave in the comments, how fast do you think the speed bike will go? I'm putting a Nibby PE19 carburetor on it. That's the speed bike right behind this one. The gearing is 29-inch wheels, 36-2 sprocket, and 10 on the engine. Now, before, with the stock China with a MZ65 clone on it, that got me up to 43 to 45 miles per hour, and it took forever to get there, but it did go that fast. So with my plans for it, with a bigger carb and everything I got going, I'm thinking that it should hit right about 50. That's my estimation. Leave it down in the comments below. How fast do you think it will go? Because it wasn't revving out all the way with the previous setup, and then I didn't even get to taste the power band once I had the new pipe and LD100 on it, because that motor was just a piece of crap and never worked right. Yep, leave it in the comments down below. How fast will it go? 50 is my estimate, but there could be more. Leave your comment down below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.
Come on, you motherfucker! Oh, shit! God damn it! Same shit, different day!